Hey everybody, it's Anchorman here, back with another episode of Top Shelf. For those of you just tuning in who have not heard of Top Shelf, this is my kind of video dump series where I just kind of talk about all the cool ideas or even dumb ideas that I have regarding comics or video games or anything in between. And this week it's going to be comics. So I kind of want to touch in on this Iron Fist controversy. So for those of you who do not know, Iron Fist is this character created in the 1970s, kind of capitalizing on the whole kung fu mania hitting the United States in the 70s. Where is the son of a millionaire who goes to the Himalayas, whose parents die, and is raised by mystic monks from a very young age, and is trained to take on the mantle of the Iron Fist. The Iron Fist is this title that is passed down from generation to generation, those of different races, creeds, sex, gender, whatever, who take up this mantle and fight for good. So Danny comes back to the United States, and it basically takes this thing, has high collars, bare open chests, and it's just crazy. I love the character, been one of my favorite B-movie, or maybe B-list Marvel characters is probably a better term. Becomes best friends with Luke Cage and has a relationship with Misty Knight, and it's great. One of the things that came out when they announced that there was going to be a Netflix show, I was so stoked for this show. I was extremely excited. I was kind of worried a little bit with Daredevil because they kind of dived into the whole ninja thing very early, and I was like, that's kind of Iron Fist territory here. I was a little worried about that, but okay, they're still going to be coming out with the show. So the show is coming out in about a week from tomorrow, at least from the time of this recording on the 9th, and the reviews are out currently. Out of the 9 reviews that dropped last night, it is currently, the whole show is hitting at a firm 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, since then, over the course of the day, there have been a couple that have trickled in. I believe right now it's up to 15%. But most reviews in terms of an actual score are sitting somewhere between like 50 and 60, maybe even a 7 here and there. But they are not, fresh. So, looking at it at first glance, that's horrible. Having bad review scores, it can definitely hurt something. And I looked at it until I started digging a little bit deeper. So here are a couple things I noticed. First one, out of all the reviews, every single one, they have only reviewed 6 episodes. Now, Netflix normally releases anywhere from the range of 10 to 13 episodes in a season. That's kind of where they shoot for. And the Netflix series have at least doing 10, and this is odd, to say the least. It is definitely strange for people to write a full review on only half the season. It's kind of like reviewing half of a movie, or playing half of a game and writing a review on it, or judging the entire Super Bowl outcome based on only the halftime score. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, usual. And another thing I noticed, though, is that at the time there were only 9 reviews. And since then I think it's expanded to maybe about 12 or something a little more than that. But that's an extremely small sample size to be working with. Like, really small. Especially be writing a full review about the series now. That doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, the last thing, and probably the biggest thing I've been noticing, is that all these reviews focus on one thing, and they all have one thing in common. Danny Rand being white. Now, let me get this out of the way. Danny was never Asian. He has always been interpreted white. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm not about here going to this whole race crap. I just want to talk about this in terms of comics and the movie adaptations and all this stuff. But I need to let that sink in for a minute. Danny has never not been white. And the accusation that they're whitewashing makes no sense because he's always been white. It doesn't make any sense. The other thing I'm just really frustrated with is that all these reviews focus on the expectation that Iron Fist was supposed to be Asian. I don't get it. Like, he wasn't. I don't know where you're pulling this from. I understand people wanted it to happen, and I get the thought process, but it doesn't work with the character. Like, keep in mind, this is a visual medium. People think with their eyes, and how do you illustrate the whole concept of this guy is an outsider, then making a clear race difference, that you see a difference between them? it doesn't fit if Danny is Asian in this case. It just doesn't work. And so when it comes to this stuff, and let's take a step back for a minute. When it comes to them changing races or genders or whatever of characters in comic book properties, movies, TV shows, whatever, I have one rule. And my one rule is I have to sit back and ask myself one question. Does the race or gender of this character define them? Does someone being white, black, Hispanic, whatever, define that character on an intrinsic level? For an example, Black Panther. Does Black Panther's blackness, is that intrinsic to that character? And the answer is yes. He has to be. It doesn't work otherwise. How are you going to be a Asian African king? How are you supposed to be a Hispanic African king? It doesn't work. His character has to be that way. So, just as an example, a broader example, does Mary Jane Watson's whiteness define her character? I would argue no. If you look at her character, her being white is not ever really a point of contention or important at all. Now, does Luke Cage being black define that character? And I would say yes. It's that whole subtext, the whole imprisonment aspect that is driven home, and him being black is intrinsic to that character and vital. And so we have to turn that question around to a larger audience or even a bigger casting pool. Like, does Bruce Wayne need to be white? Does Superman need to be white? And I ask again, does the whiteness of those characters define them? I would say no. I would think that they could be considered any other race or creed. And so to bring it back a little more to Iron Fist, does Danny Rand need to be white? The answer is probably no. But should we crucify Iron Fist for not being Asian? No. And who decided that just because he knows martial arts, he has to be Asian? That seems a little hypocritical, don't you think? I mean, they decided to remain faithful to the source material, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, also keep in mind that the outcrying would happen if they changed it. How would that affect the other things that are about to happen? Because keep in mind, Danny is supposed to be Luke Cage's best friend, and he's supposed to have this long-term relationship with Misty Knight. So, to recap, we got an extremely undersampled group of critics reviewing an entire series based on only 6 episodes with a biased agenda against a white actor in a role they imagine to be Asian but is not really, and are therefore claiming whitewashing of a white character. Yeah, this is kind of bullshit. Let's wait until the show comes out, make up your own minds, watch it for yourselves. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here. If you think my opinion was total crap, go hit me up on Twitter. I'm at AnchormanV2. Hit me up. We'll talk. See you guys later.